This is that time of the week, every Tuesday about this time, where you get a little free, I don't know if you could call it self-help, but it is help. Free psychological service, so to speak, from Regional Psychological Services own Dr. John Braccio. Dr. John B. What's up, Doc? Good morning, Doc.
Well, good morning, Mike. I think we have a good topic today, and how to diplomatically get a spouse or a partner to change a behavior, okay? I think the primary goal of a person or a therapist working with a person is to help that the person can make the changes they have control of in their lives. Now, an additional necessary component in a person's life that's in a relationship is to find ways to diplomatically request a spouse or partner to make some required changes that they don't seem willing to make. Now, typical areas of concern, and I think these will all seem common to you, to me, and to others walking the road of life. There can be concerns in a relationship at home about person not being on time, always being late or not paying attention, always being on the cell phone or the computer, not willing to discuss areas of concern, maybe not even accepting there are problems, or not eating together as a couple or family, not going on dates, not worshiping, or any other concern that can come up. So these are things that occur in relationships every day, all the time, and most relationships are going to have these at one time or another or something additional. So when these things occur and you want the person to change or would like changes, you have to do it diplomatically. Okay, you don't want to come out and say things that are going to really lead to a lot of confrontation. Okay. So the first thing you've got to do is you've got to figure, why is the person this way? Why are they always late? Or why do they seem not to pay attention? Or why don't they want to do these things? And there may be a reason. It could be even issues we've talked before about ADHD, autism, whatever it might be. But try to figure out, why is this, or just bad attitude, or whatever it is. So things you have to determine, how do you do it? Now, things you want to use I statements versus you statements when you're talking to your partner, okay? Like if you make a statement like this can be a positive. I feel not connected to you when we're sitting together. You're just constantly always on your phone or your computer. We're just not having quality interaction.
Okay. Doctor, I got to tell you, there's no way that's going to be said at my house. I just don't, well, I should. I guess you have to make an effort to say that. So you say it that way. Okay, excuse me, honey. As opposed to what? Stay off of your freaking phone. You can't say that.
Well, that was my statement. Could be something like, if you're disrespecting me by not interacting with me, you're always focusing on that ridiculous phone or computer. Your clueless insensitivity really makes me mad and even in a rage. Now, that just doesn't work, okay? You can say it, but when you do that, you're going to, it's going to lead to a confrontation. So it is good. Try to use the I statement. I feel this way, as opposed to you do this. So it's just kind of the way things work. So you want to try to, I've learned over the decades too that people have the same confrontations over and over again. Now you have to be aware that even when you use diplomacy, it doesn't mean the person's always going to change, or they may even say no, they won't change, or they don't think they could change, or not willing to change. What you've done, though, you put it on the table, and you have to be aware of the consequences. May not be what you want now, but Rome wasn't built in a day, and there are things that can be worked on, and there could be a change, a partial change. Example: let's say that someone says, "Look, we'll take an hour a night each night where we'll just talk to each other. We'll turn everything off. We won't have the phones on. We won't have the TV, whatever it might be. We'll take an hour." Or somebody might say, "Well, I want more than that. I want us to be more communicating and doing things." But if that's what you get, then that's a positive thing, Mike, because you got to remember in life, you're just not going to get everything. Hopefully you will, but that isn't the way the world works. So if you can get a partial change, that's better than no change, because in life, a successful life really is measured by how much you gain and not how much you lose. It's
how much I can
critical.
bend people to my will. That's how I measure it.
well, in the relationship, the main thing you want to do is you want to look at things the things that keep you together, the reason you're happy. You don't want to be just focusing on things like losing you're upset about. So if you combine the idea of being happy for the wins you have and always working on the relationship, you're going to be a lot happier than you are if you're someone who looks at everything as a win or lose. Like, I wanted 3 hours that we were going to do this, and you're only willing to do an hour. Then you're never going to be content overall. There'll always be issues. So you have to really work on compromising. If you're willing to compromise, you're willing to be diplomatic, then really your relationship can, in a good way, can go on steroids. That marriage you have or the person with your partner, it can be a really good thing, Mike. But if you don't, then chaos can occur. And people that go from one relationship to another relationship, always finding fault in the partner, these are persons, in many cases, they're horrible choices, okay, but it's more that they don't know how to work as a team. They haven't learned how to do things. Some people even take 2 or 3 marriages to figure this thing out. But the main thing is to try to, with the relationship you're in, just try to be making good decisions, using I statements, I feel this way, rather than you're an idiot and a dummy. That never advances the conversation. Well, have you ever advanced a conversation, Mike, when you said to your wife or your partner, you're an idiot, a dummy, and you're
never have I, but
me?
but I wouldn't use those words. I wouldn't do that. But here's a typical, okay, so my pet peeve is dishes in the sink, all right? And my wife doesn't mind them as long as they're in the sink. Eventually they'll get rinsed off and put in the dishwasher or done or whatever. I tend to just throw mine in the dishwasher. That's her pet peeve with me. So the other day she says to me, "You're into your old habits again." I was like, "My what? What are you talking about?" She goes, "Your old habits. You're now rinsing off the dishes." Well, that wasn't the way to approach me, I'll tell you, because I wasn't hearing that I had old habits. You telling me that's a habit? How about just having dishes in the sink at all? And off we go to the races. So okay, which way was that going to go? How should we have done that different? Tell me she was wrong, Doc. Tell me she was wrong.
Here's what I say. I think that call a timeout, and you probably want to try. You want to try to get some solution on how you're going to deal with that. Let's just say that you want to do it one way, she wants to do it another way, and one of you is going to have to realize that there can be a compromise, and if not, you may just have to deal with this. I know that sounds like a horrible thing to say, but there are times people won't change. They can't see why it's an issue, and they won't compromise. Now, that doesn't bode well if they do that on a lot of things over and over again, but this is one of those things you and your wife would really have to sit down and say, hey, what difference does it make? How hard is this? What can we do to solve this problem? Because obviously she doesn't like the way you do this. Am I correct? Is that true?
Yeah, and vice versa, me. So
I understand. Well, and there are things like I mentioned here too. There are things that people really won't change, but those are not deal breakers, relationship breakers. The goal is to try to find a compromise. Now, what would you find to be a compromise there, Mike? We'll do a little therapy.
Two kitchens. My kitchen clean and tidy, her kitchen dishes in the sink, and they'll get put away eventually. 2 kitchens.
Well, let's put it this way. Let's assume for a moment now that you don't have 2 kitchens. Okay, you only have one. You only have one kitchen, and so what are you going to do? Is she willing to compromise with you on this, or is her view is this is the way I am? You've got to get used to me. You knew I was like this.
Here's the thing, Lisa and I really, we're pretty tight, and we do communicate pretty well. And that would be it. Yeah, that's the thing. Hey, listen, but we got to wrap up, Doc. We're going to get short on time here. I don't want to get all into the weeds on my problems. Can we just say, maybe because of this lady Lillian yesterday, she had great advice on everything in life. She said,
if you're crying, stop being a baby. Find a tissue and move on.
Well, that is good advice. I will say, though, in relationships, if you do that too much, you're not going to be happy and you won't always move on. But again, wish you and your wife good luck, and maybe getting that second kitchen's a good idea. Maybe that's something you need addition to the house.
And you come over for dinner, please rinse your dishes off, because she's gonna go. All right. Hey, Doc, have a great day. Thank you so much for your expertise and time.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, buddy. Dr. John Braccio, drjohnb.com, Regional Psychological Services there. Love it, love it. 1320 WILS.